Hey there, Yuris here, and welcome to Community Life. Here we talk with the amazing humans from the community world about their life journeys and learn from each other. And today we have a conversation with Avely Pütsep, a mission-driven community and marketing consultant and a digital nomad who's slowly traveling the world and always choose kindness. So, hello, Avely.
Hi, it's always so interesting to listen to the beginning that you do because I'm like, oh, what's gonna come? What are you gonna say about me? Hi, happy to be here.
Yes, I'm always trying to find something that people usually talk about
Mhm,
themselves,
mhm.
and I'm curious, how do you choose who to travel with?
Well, for me, it's quite easy because I travel with my boyfriend, who was a traveler even before we met. So I dreamt about like slow traveling, like working at the same time for a very, very long time. Always thought I couldn't like do it. But then I met my now boyfriend who was already a traveler. So it like everything aligned together. So we usually travel together. Of course, sometimes I also travel with my family or for work or with friends or alone. But yeah, usually it's just very easy with my boyfriend.
And who usually decides where to go?
Good question. Um, because like I get asked so much like how do you decide where to go next? Like what do you take into account like when making the decision? It's a lot of things. It's I don't know, where we want to go, where sounds nice, where we haven't been, because usually I do sometimes go back to places that I've already been to, but I usually like to go to places that I haven't been before. Um, I've been traveling for the last like 3 years, something like that, when I've been full-time traveling. And it's been mostly Europe, just because it's so easy. I'm from Europe myself. It's so easy to go from one country to another. You can pretty much trust the internet connection, even if it's bad in an Airbnb, you can get like a SIM card. But yeah, it's usually like I want to go somewhere or my partner wants to go somewhere and we're pretty easygoing. We're like, okay, sounds good. Let's go there.
Did you ever have this situation when you read or heard some information about some place that it's amazing, and then you came there and it was shitty, or vice versa?
Not really, because I think that like of course I've heard a lot like from friends or internet or whatever that like oh this place didn't live up to the hype or like it wasn't good or anything like that. But then the first thing in my mind is always like, well, you're gonna find something that you like in any place. So it's like even if it's like I don't know a shitty place, which I'm not even sure there is a place like that, like you can
Yeah.
always find something good in there. And that's why like I try to not make my opinion up when other people like say something shit about the place. I'm like try to make my own opinion and like keep my mind open and everything. Always of course it's like sometimes harder like said and done. And it depends who tells you that, how much you trust them, if it's like a close friend who you're like really similar with. But like, yeah, I try to keep an open mind. Yeah. But for example, one place that really doesn't answer your question, but I'm gonna say it anyway, was Albania. Like I hadn't really heard that much about it. And then after I told people that I was going there, so many of my friends were like, "Oh my gosh, this place is amazing." Like it's funny, like I never heard anything about it before. And then when I went there, I started hearing about it, and then I went there and it was actually amazing. And I was like, "Why don't people talk about this place?" Because it doesn't like it's still quite cheap because it doesn't have the EU money yet.
Hmm.
So it's cheap, it's beautiful. Obviously it has its issues as well with poverty and like animals on the streets and everything like that. But like, oh my gosh, amazing, amazing.
Okay, so tell me a story about following Google Maps to the mountains and getting rescued by Albanian police.
Oh fuck's sake. Um, so the backstory, Jesus. So the backstory is that I have a driver's license. Obviously, like I drive in my home country, have driven for like 10 years, but I was always really afraid to do it in like abroad in a new country. But then in Albania, where the infrastructure, it is somewhat good. Like you can take buses and stuff, but I get very, very, very sick in cars, buses, literally whatever. If I'm driving, it's better. So
Hmm.
then in Albania, I was finally like, okay, like I want to go to cool places. I don't want to throw up because that's what happens when I take buses. Like I just throw up because I get so sick. So I was like, okay, let's rent a car. And even though I knew before, there was like people who said it, like I saw it online, which was like, don't always trust Google Maps. Like like it may take you to like bad roads and stuff that aren't really roads. And I was like, okay, cool. I have all that info. But then on Google Maps, it shows you like a big road, this like more thinner line.
Hmm. Hmm.
But then it wasn't. So it started going like we were in on like a asphalt, like proper road, and then it started going like off asphalt, and it went to like tiny rocks and pebbles and stuff like that. And on Google Maps, it showed that it's quite close to get to like another, like a proper big road. We knew that was a big road, but when you go through mountains, then a small amount can actually be very long. And it was like pebbles, and then it started getting worse and worse. But we were looking at Google Maps, we were like, oh no, 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 it's just around the corner, it's fine. And then it started getting worse. It was like turned from like pebbles to like bigger one, like bigger rocks, and like the road wasn't really a road anymore. It was like a mountainside, and then
Wow.
it started getting dark, and then like you see the drop, and like it's like bushes and stuff, but then behind that is like a huge drop. And our rental car, the cheapest one, was obviously a small car, super like low. It started getting dark. Like I told my boyfriend and my friend who were in the car, I was like, you need to get out so the car is like less heavy. Got darker and darker. We kept going because like you can't turn around anymore. It's not
Yeah.
like an open space to just turn around and go back. So we just had to keep going, and then it got very dark because with some countries in Europe, I'm sure in other places as well, it gets dark like super fast. It was like
Yeah.
a little dark. And then we were at like a crossroad. It was basically the first crossroad that we saw. There was two roads, and we were like, these are not even roads. Like what do we do? It's dark. So yeah, we started like calling, like we had to get to like another Airbnb, so we started calling there. They didn't speak English, so finally we got the police, even though the first time we called, it's just like called for ages and then just like stopped. And we were like, what is this place? But yeah, then in the end we got police, and then they got in touch with like a village person who like came and picked us up with like a huge car with like huge wheels. So we got in the big car, and some of like one of them got in the small car and was like, what are you doing here with this car on these roads? So yeah,
Yeah,
that's
I feel like they have to add some description on Google Maps that you have to use only these types of cars to go there, or better to go only by foot because otherwise.
yeah, yeah, exactly. Because our car was not meant for that. And they said that the big road that we were aiming for was actually still very far away. So
Do you still trust Google Maps after that?
I do, but just because it's like the easiest thing, it's like everything is on there. I mean, you obviously can't always trust it because like throughout my travels, I've already learned that like even if something says that it's open on Google Maps or it exists there, doesn't matter that it does. It gets like it's a very long time, a lag when something changes for a business for actually change on Google Maps. So
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. So, coming back to new places. So, if you are in a new place, what is the difference between the first 2 hours and the last 2 hours there?
Oh my gosh, what a good question. I've never thought of it like that. Well, the first 2 hours, well, easily depends on whether I need to work straight away or not, like what the time is, what the time of the day it is, how's work. So if I need to work, then it's literally get to the Airbnb or booking or whatever and start working. If I don't have to work straight away, then I don't know if you know this phrase. I only know it because it's a British phrase that I learned. It's like get your bearings, which is like going around and seeing what's around, what's where. So usually that like get some food to not starve, and then I usually also like when we go to places, then I don't know if other people have it as well. I know that some of my friends have it. In some Airbnbs, there's like so much like knickknacks anywhere, everywhere. So usually I don't feel like super homey there. So I take pictures of like what they look like and
Hmm.
then put them all in one cupboard. And then the last 2 hours is taking out these pictures that I took and then putting the like all the knickknacks, little things back on the shelves and stuff and putting like the furniture back how it used to be.
Oh, it's such a great thing. I've never thought about that, but really, yeah, you can just remember, make photos, and then,
Mm,
it's
yeah.
interesting. Thank you for sharing that. And
Yeah.
let's start from the beginning. So tell me about your parents. Who are they?
So my dad is a carpenter. So he makes like furniture, stairs, like all sorts of like stuff. He's really good with hands. Same with my mom really. She's really good at like just doing things with her hands. And I knew you were gonna ask that question, and I was like, I have to look up how to say my mom's what she does in English because I always struggle with it, but clearly I forgot. But it's called like paper conservatist or something like that. So basically, she takes like old papers, documents, stuff like that, and then she preserves them, fixes them,
Mm.
like all like chemistry and like how do you do different mixes to like preserve them and everything like that. But she's also a superwoman because she's doing her master's right now. She's also teaching at a uni. She also like does a lot for Ukraine. Like she's one of the like leads in her town. So it's like, yeah, she's a superwoman.
How many Ukrainian people did you meet in your hometown?
Oh gosh, a lot, a lot. Because I mean, for Estonia, the Ukrainian war is like it's very close to our heart because it like from history, like Russia has come to Estonia and just taken over many times. So like we never want anyone else to go through that. I think that's why like Estonia and Poland, for example, are like really like helping Ukraine. So it's there's a lot of Ukrainian people in Tartu, which is my hometown anyway. But then because my mom helps them, there's like they like come and visit, or it's like the protective nets is like what my mom is one of the leaders of. So like when there's the time to like go to that place and make the nets, then there's like the Estonians and
Mm.
Ukrainians and
Hmm.
everyone who comes together. So a lot of Ukrainians there as well.
So your dad and your mom are good with doing some stuff with hands. And what about you?
I think so. It's like weird to say about yourself. But I think so, yeah. Like I grew up like always having to do like gardening and when I was growing up, I say we, I mean my parents, turned our summer house into like a huge living house. So like did most of the build ourselves with like friends and some professionals. But like yeah, I remember like digging like the hole that the cement goes in and like painting and like doing the nails and everything and like always gardening and always like I don't know helping out so and I have actually been thinking that while I'm traveling, I do miss the feeling of like putting my fingers into the soil and doing gardening and being outside or like sanding something. Like I remember when I was smaller and we found this like old like Soviet time like wooden box and I like sanded it down and like oiled it and everything. So yeah, I do like doing stuff with my hands. Yeah, it's very, very calming.
Kind of renewing things.
Yeah. Sustainability is very close to my heart, yes.
Do you still always find reasons to buy new plants?
Plants, yes. Very hard when I'm traveling. because you can't travel with plans. I mean, technically you could, but like I travel with very little stuff. But yes, while I'm traveling, I like buy plants for my friends and like family and stuff like that and for gifts. So yes, even if I can't buy them for myself, I always buy them. Yes.
Do you remember this movie Leon the Killer?
No, but I'm also awful with names.
It was this Jean Reno, and he was professional killer, and it was some girl, and they were doing some stuff together. But it just reminded me this girl was always traveling with a plant, and I was like, yeah, it's
My
still
future.
valuable, if you want, but you have to also have some kind of killer near you, maybe.
I also don't know what they would do at security because true, some countries are like EU, US, like stuff like that. They don't allow bringing like seeds and stuff. So I
Yeah,
don't know
yeah.
how they would like my plant companion.
Okay, so let's move to yourself. What is the first memory of your childhood that comes to your mind right now?
Hmm. I don't know if I can remember like a first one. I have one which is like I'm sure that it's not the first one, but somehow my parents got their hands on like a digital camera, like the big one from the olden time. And me and my neighbor girl were, were like in the garden. It was summertime, and I remember that like my parents wanted to like film around, but I was a big attention seeker when I was small. So there's just this video of me like super small with my hair everywhere and this shirt that has like had like a butterfly on it. And I just like went ahead of the camera, like into the lens all the time. Like I'm a butterfly in Estonian, obviously, but like I'm a butterfly. And my parents were like trying to film it, and they couldn't because this little kid was just like in the way saying that she's a butterfly. But yeah, that's just a random one I can remember.
I can imagine like they like trying to film some stuff and then like, butterfly, butterfly. How
Yeah, the little girl. Yeah.
do you still have this recording?
You know, I think it's somewhere, and I have been thinking for years that I think we have like these old video cassettes. I don't know how you call them in English. That like
Hmm.
I should like because I know that there's like services where you're like you bring them in and then they like send them to you. So I should actually do that and find where they are because I'm sure that there's so much stuff there that I have no idea of or don't remember.
Are you talking about this big rectangle, I would say like VHS or something that you
Yeah,
put
yeah,
into
yeah,
this
yeah.
player
Yeah.
and then
Mm-hmm.
and
Yep.
then you can re-record it accidentally or not accidentally, it
Yeah,
depends.
exactly. Yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah, that one.
Out of your tattoos, what was first, moon or sun?
My first one was actually it's on my foot and it's this huge leaf. And I got it in Malta when years ago I went with my friends, like my best friend, like core group, like my second family, like we were like the 10 of us. It was like unbelievable that we all got the day to match and go all together. And then I remember I really wanted a tattoo and my friend wanted one as well, but I was really afraid of how painful it was gonna be. And then I remember we were Googling like the two map pain zone, something like that, which shows you like the different colors of like where your tattoo is and how painful it's gonna be. And I remember I had like another spot in the green zone, but then I got what's the word? Sunburn? Yeah, I got sunburned and you can't get the tattoo on a
Mm.
sunburned skin. So I had to change last minute and I went to like the skin like on your foot, which is like basically like just skin and bone.
Hmm.
But at that time I wasn't like really thinking that it's gonna be really expensive, like not expensive, really painful. But it was very, very, very painful because like the more like skin and fat between the skin and the bone, the less painful it can be. but that like there's nothing there in between basically. And I remember it was like, gosh, it was so painful that I was like screaming, singing at the same time. And my friend whose hand I was holding, his hand like really hurt afterwards. And it was on the second floor where I was getting tattooed. And I was making such a noise that like people came from downstairs and they were like, what is happening here? So I have learned from that. And now when I go to get a tattoo, because I get them all the time, like I'm out of control, then I always watch Netflix. So I either watch The Office or Friends at the same time, and then that distracts me.
So why did you decide to do this leaf tattoo? What is the backstory of the picture itself?
Well, like nature. I'm a nature kid. Like if I'm away from nature for a long time, like I'm not myself. Like I get anxious, I get grumpy. So that's why like when I'm traveling as well, like capitals are cool, but I usually like to go to like other cities that are still like cool and have like infrastructure and stuff like that, but they're still like next to the sea or forest or mountains, or sometimes just like go super rural. So it's like as long as I have internet and I have nature, like I'm all good. So yeah, I have like a lot of like leaves and stuff everywhere. And one time my friend there's like not a good like translation of like from Estonian to English in that, but she said to me that it um basically like et ma põõsastun, which is basically like that like you go into like nature, like bush stuff like that, because I have so much like nature stuff all over my body.
And talking about the moon and the sun, what was first?
Well, I have a moon, which I don't know
Mm-hmm.
if you can see, but then I also have a moon and the sun together.
Mm-hmm.
So the moon was first, and then the moon and sun came. And the moon and sun is actually from a Ukrainian tattoo artists from a charity event where all the money went to Ukraine. So go Ukraine.
Yay. Thank you so much for your support. For sure, definitely.
Course.
It's super important. Yeah, shit is
Yeah.
still going on.
Yeah.
And still, what is the backstory of your tattoo? Moon tattoo, I mean.
This one, I don't think it has that like strong of a backstory. Like some of my tattoos, I have like a really strong like I want it because A and B. And
Mm-hmm.
then with some tattoos, I'm just like I really like it. So there's this like funny meme which is like I can't remember how it exactly goes, but it's basically like the reason I have this tattoo is because I fucking wanted it or something like that. So it's like
It's also it
people
sounds
always
like
yeah,
a
people
good
always ask
reason.
me like, what's the story? I wanted it and I have no self-control. That's the story.
What does your process of randomly taking books from the bookshelf look like?
Interesting. I wonder how where did you get that? From somewhere on Instagram. Okay.
Yeah, sure.
Uh, it's similar to how I like to sometimes watch movies and series. So I remember when I used to go to the movies a lot when I wasn't traveling and I was younger, and I went with my friends, it was often that we wanted to go to the cinema or my friends wanted to go to the movies. And I was like, I don't want to know anything about the movie. Like they were talking about, oh, on the trailer, this and this. And I was like, nope, 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 don't want to know. So I sometimes do that with books as well, that like I go into it not knowing anything. So I just take a book and like I'm like, okay, seems fine, and start reading. Now sometimes I also do like I check the Goodreads rating before, but not always because I mean tastes are so different. So even if some like I don't know has a low score and people thought it's rubbish, I may still think that it's amazing. So
Do you always finish a book after starting it?
good question. I would say usually yes, but I do have some books that I haven't finished, but I'm sure some of them I will finish at some point. It's just slow. So I started reading a lot again a few years ago, and now like I go through a lot of books, and usually I like start a book and finish it, but I currently also have a few books that are on like on the back end, on the backlog, which like I go back to and like continue reading.
Why do you think you have to finish them?
I think it depends. With some books, I want to finish them. It's just that some books, they're either like the text doesn't run so smooth, or you like really have to think along. And then sometimes I just don't have the energy for it, and I go for a read like a text that like reads really smooth and it's easier to read.
Yeah.
With some books, I don't think I have to finish them. I'm like really struggling to find the balance because like with like before, like I said, with places that like you can find something good in every place. I believe the same thing with the book. Like you can find always something to learn from there, or like how it's written, how the story unfolds, like so many different things that like you can look at. But then the other side of me is like, if you really don't enjoy it, just read something else. Like there's so many amazing things to read that like just find something else that like you really want to read. So like trying to find that balance of which one it leans to.
I know I'm personally feeling so much anxiety when I start the book and
Mm-hmm.
I'm reading and then it's hard to read and then like, but no, I already started, I have to finish
Mm-hmm.
it. And then like, no, it's so hard. And
Yeah.
I totally feel what you're talking about. I also have like one or two books on the background. I feel
Mhm.
like I've gone through 20% of them or something like that, and then like 1% in a month or something. So it's almost
But also,
impossible.
but also sometimes with a book, it's the start is really hard, and the start can even mean like until like basically the halfway, but
Yeah.
then you get hooked. So I'm also like, will I actually get hooked? So I just had it with a book when I usually like reading like real books, but when traveling, it's like too much to carry, so I read on my Kindle. But when I'm somewhere stationary for a longer time, for example, when I visited my family, then I did the thing where I went to the bookcase and took a random book, and it was like written at the like beginning of like 1900s or something like that. So the text wasn't very easy to read, and I was like somewhat struggling in the beginning, and I was like, do I continue it? But then I got hooked. So so I finished it.
What is your favorite place to read a book?
Ooh. I think either in bed because it's just so cozy, or in nature somewhere.
Why do you love dogs more than humans?
Ah, that's funny. Uh, I mean, how can you not? I just love animals in general, like so much like nature and animals, and it's just like I don't know. They're the best, man. I don't know.
Do you have a favorite dog breed?
I don't think so. I know that I'm gonna have a dog in the future. Right now, with the traveling, I just don't have one yet. But I have been thinking that in the future, when I get a dog, I have always thought that I will take one from a shelter because there's so many dogs that like really need a home.
Yeah.
But now because I've babysat dogs at so many of my friends' dogs. Islas are really lovely. I don't know if you know them. They're these like bird dogs, I think they're called. They're
Hmm.
amazing. And then I can't remember the names, but there's also like retriever, and
Hmm.
I don't know what it's called in English, but in Estonian it's like lamb dog, which I'm sure has a nicer name in English. But they're all like really fluffy and friendly and like really want to learn.
So you'd like, oh, okay. I'm curious, it's always when you're going to a shelter, you don't really know what dog you might get. And it's not always like a breed you can choose. It's like more, yeah, more a dog. But What do you like about the dog's character the most?
I like it when they're playful and active because then that also like makes me more like at ease and active. Because I think like most of us have experienced where like you're in a shit mood or like in a weird mood or something like that, and then a dog like does the tiniest thing, and you're like, oh my gosh, and you're so happy. And it's just so nice to see how sincere people get with dogs.
Mm.
Like, either that they do the tiniest thing or they're just playing or like fetching or something like that. And people just get so like sincerely happy. And I'm like, yes, dogs do bring us like sincere happiness. Like it's just so nice.
Dogs heal. Yeah,
They
dogs
do.
heal people.
Yes. Yes.
What depletes your social battery?
I think I'm like an extrovert and introvert. So when I have a lot of like social things I need to do, then that definitely depletes it. So either that's like personal and a lot of plans, or that's online and community. Either like I've done like community coffee chats where I've talked to like 70 plus people, and sometimes when I have too much of them, I just like I'm depleted, or like community work with your community members. So definitely that, but then also on the other side, when I haven't like talked to friends or like community people or something like that for a long time, then I'm also like, oh my gosh, like I need to talk to people. Otherwise I'll go crazy.
Sounds like you have to have this good balance of conversations.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And what recharges your social battery?
I think one of the easiest things is like being alone, like talking to no one. Because when I've had those days where I'm super active, for example, with community things, be it like talking to other community professionals or at work, and it's the end of the day, and then my boyfriend wants to talk to me, and I'm like, can't talk to you right now. Like which is like we're very good at it, which is like when one of us is like we're like I'm overwhelmed right now. I need to be alone. Then the other one like understands. But I always feel so shitty because like I've been like chatting with everyone and he's had like a really quiet day and he wants to talk to someone because we travel, for example, only two of us in a new place. And I'm like, I
Yeah.
can't do. I'm so sorry. I I need time alone. So it's yeah, time alone and nature and reading and like I don't know, working out. Yeah.
What is your preferred way to spend time with yourself?
I mean, right now one of the highest things is reading. I feel like sometimes it like gets a bit like out of control because sometimes I just read for hours, but the books are so good and sometimes I get so sad because there are so many books and it's not possible for me to even go through most of them. But yeah, I mean the answer is pretty much the same, like reading or watching Netflix or I mean scrolling on my phone sometimes. I know it's not the best, but sometimes it's just what you need. Like nature and walking around aimlessly. Yeah.
How is a book popping up on your to read list?
Mm, because of social media algorithms, for example, on Instagram, like because I look at book content, then I get more book content.
Yeah.
And then also like Facebook, even though like fake Facebook is becoming more of like a not that popular of a social media platform, but for some things I still use it. So for example, I'm in like book groups and like stuff like that. So when I open Facebook on my phone and start scrolling, then a lot of different like recommendations and stuff pop up. So I just like jam them all into one place. And then like friends, LinkedIn, I think these are like the most ones.
But there are so many. How do you prioritize them?
Oh my gosh, I know. This is the story of my life. I think right now I prioritize just literally what I want to read and what sounds fun and interesting. Because right now I'm fully on like a fiction one. I don't read any like I don't know, not like self-help, but like these kinds of books. I haven't really read any like community or marketing books. I'm just fully in my like this sounds interesting. I want to read that era right now.
Once your coworker said the word penetrate, you had to turn your camera off because you could not laugh. And the coworker even asked, "Are you laughing because of this word?" And you said, "Yeah." So how did this conversation end?
Oh gosh, I can't remember. It was at the startup that I used to work at. And it was like at a bigger meeting. I mean, the company culture was really good, so it was like fine that you sometimes behave like a 11-year-old, like a lot of us did that, but it was like more of like cross team strategy something meeting, and I can't even remember like who exactly said that or why or something like that, but me and my coworker were clearly in a silly mood and just couldn't like handle ourselves. But that's also like how I like to work, and that's how I usually I don't I think it just like somewhat happens that I just like click with similar people. So most of the teams that I've had, I've been very spoiled with like-minded people. Clearly not like everyone, but like there's a lot of people who like act like 11-year-olds sometimes with me, and it's fun, and like all work gets done, but it's also fun.
So amazing, I always feel like adults are just grown-up kids and like, why not? If kids do that, why adults can do that? It's
Yeah,
it's just unfair.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, I agree.
I have this question from one of the previous guests.
Mhm.
So, what do you do to hold space for others? What is your process for holding space for others?
Mm, that's a really good question. Mm, well, I can't stop myself from going to community straight away and thinking of like community events that I hold. Um, I think one of the thing is how you behave shows others how they can behave. So if you are like open and vulnerable, it shows them that it's a safe place to do so. Because otherwise I mean, I'm sure that it can work like that as well, but it just doesn't work for me. It's like when I would be like super like got it and like video off and everything like that, then at least from my experience, it may not make that the one like an open space.
Mhm.
Also, humor is a big thing for me, like we just talked about. Like the community shows that we do, they're useful, they're packed with good information, but we also like joke around, and like I think that makes also for like a good and chill and like a like safe space.
How do you build some boundaries to ensure that you are not only for others?
Ooh, that is a good question. I'm like a chronic people pleaser. Gone to therapy, like obviously for other things as well, but also like have like worked hard on that. And I think I've definitely gotten better at it, but it's still sometimes a struggle. And I've spent so many years just like making sure that everyone else is okay and cared for and valued and seen. So it's also no wonder that I'm in community. I want people to like be like heard and accepted and everything like that. Um, but I think the easiest one-on-one is just like putting down, if I talked about for my work, for example, is putting down boundaries like when I work and when I don't work, because
Mhm.
otherwise I work all the time. And I've gone through it where I want to work evenings, where I want to work weekends. You always wanted to be there for your community. There's always someone who needs help or someone who wants to chat or whatever. And it's like you can't be there for everyone else all the time, and you shouldn't be. And also, not all problems are yours to fix. Like I always get into this mindset, like, oh my gosh, I have to fix it. I want to fix it. Not all problems are yours to fix.
You know, it's so fun when you are talking about this. You reminded me of how I always tried to answer to any message as fast as possible.
Mm,
And, somebody coming with some question or a challenge or a problem. And I'm like, yeah, let's do it. Let's try to fix it. And then it took a ton of time for me to find things out,
mm,
like how to help. And then,
yeah.
you know, once I forgot to answer or
Mhm,
missed a question or something happened in person, like 2 hours later wrote me, oh, never mind, I already fixed it. And then
mm,
I was like, oh, wow, it really works.
mhm,
Sometimes you don't have to fix all the people problems. Sometimes they can do it by
yeah.
themselves. You just have to give them a little bit of time. Definitely, if it's some super urgent thing that
Yeah, yeah, that's
you can
different.
to do
Yeah,
payment or something with your services or
yeah,
something like people can't find a way how to enter in-person meeting or something like that. But in general,
yeah.
nah, most likely people can do this. So
And in a community setting, when you haven't gotten to it yet, chances are some other community member may get to it and be like, "Hey, I know an answer. Here you go." But about like these boundaries and your last question, I think like a game changer for me as well, not that I always do it, but I like try to remind myself is when someone tells you something, like you could plain out ask them like, do you want me to listen or do you want me to like help you solve it? Because as humans we go straight into like problem solving. Like they
yeah,
tell us something, we're already thinking, oh, maybe this, they could talk to that person. But maybe they just want you to listen to them, maybe they just want to get it off their chest. Because sometimes it's also like I know from my personal experience, when I have a problem, sometimes just talking it out loud to someone else helps. They don't have to say anything. They can be like, yeah, yeah, yeah. And I already get a solution in my head. So, like, do people want to be heard or they want the solution? That's like a game changer, which I always forget to do, but it's like, it's so good.
I feel like you have to print it out, and I also have to print it out as a reminder. Like, do people really need a solution, or they just want to be heard?
Yeah.
It's a really really good question to ask yourself. And Emily, I wish to have the sky as a limit to our conversation, but time is a limit. So let's jump to the rapid fire questions. Summer or winter?
Can choose both.
Kayaking or snorkeling?
Oh gosh. Snorkeling. Love kayaking, but nothing beats
Nothing
snorkeling to be
personal. Sorry,
underwater.
kayaking. Nothing personal. It's just what are your favorite color and song?
I don't have a favorite color. Ever since I was a kid and someone asks me, I say yellow. I don't know why. Most of my clothes are black, so I'm gonna say black or yellow. I don't know. And favorite song, don't have one, but Dancing in the Moonlight is like my forever good mood song.
If you were a superhero, what superpower would you have?
It's gonna be like really cheesy. I just want like everyone to be like content and happy and like just yeah, I don't know.
Yeah. Who do you learn from? Name just one person.
Oh bloody hell.
I'm not making it easier, I know.
Oh gosh. I'm gonna go with my go-to community answer, which is Max Beat and Nicola, whose last name I'm blanking on because I'm awful with names, but I know that you know her.
Yeah, exactly. It's early, I guess.
Yes, yes, exactly. Yeah, yeah. And Carolyn Sick. Like they're cool on community topics.
Name two people whom I should definitely reach out to and have this conversation with.
Mm,
Those people are already on my list, who you mentioned. So
yeah, yeah, yeah. Um, I don't know if I can come up with two, but Noelle Flowers, for example, is one. And I'm actually learning from her right now because I'm doing her community strategy course, but she's amazing. Um, I'm sure that I have like a billion other names because for my community show, I have like a database of community people. So yeah, I'm planking on another one because like I don't want to leave anyone out. So
It's
I'll
impossible not to leave anyone out, and
I know.
it's exactly the idea of it, you know. So you tell about somebody who's on top of your mind at this moment.
Yeah, yeah.
So yeah. Okay, so ask it forward. It's like pay it forward but with
Mhm.
questions. So ask a question that a future guest will have to answer.
When's the last time that you felt accepted, when you felt like you belonged? We just did that at work. I can't remember where that question came in, but we had like it came up in like a random meeting that we had, like about like production or something like that, and we just started sharing, and it was really cute.
Is there one question that I definitely should have asked you but didn't?
I don't think there's a like a question really, but mental health is very close to my heart, and I know that like your listeners mostly must be like community builders, and like burnout is a real thing in community as well, and like feeling overwhelmed and anxious and everything like that. So just reminder to take care of yourself, and if you need someone to talk to, there's always someone to talk to. You can literally like reach out to me on LinkedIn. Like I'm always there. So just take care of yourself.
What is one thing that you always do to prevent burnout?
Nature.
Got
Get
it.
outside, even if you
Got
don't
it.
want
You know, Avely, I really love that I met you in the community world. I don't know where you have this energy, but it feels like you are everywhere and you're doing such an amazing work. And I
to.
can't even call it work. It feels like it's some kind of passion. It's something
Yeah.
inside of you
Need
that you
to get
just
out
do.
of us. Yeah.
Meeting people, talking to them, supporting this conversation, being everywhere all at once. And I'm so happy that I got to know you better because of this conversation. And thank you so much for being open and sharing a little bit of details of your life. And I definitely have so much more questions. So get ready for the volume 2 one day.
Yeah, yeah. And we need to ask you questions because now I want to ask you all these questions. So,
You can really do that, you know, just come up with questions, tell me the date, and we can do this. We can
yes,
switch seats. I'm
yes.
super happy to do this. And yeah, till then, see you in the community world.